Hello and welcome to the third episode in an interview series that I'm conducting for the ITF America's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. My name is Olga Shurchkov and I hold the rank of 5th Dan in ITF. My goal for this series has been to spotlight the achievements of ITF members and practitioners who have been particularly instrumental for advancing diversity in Taekwondo. And today my guest is Sabumnim Joleen Masters. Ms. Masters hails from Jamaica and she is a true inspiration. The words first and only have accompanied her throughout her almost 35-year-long career in Taekwondo. Ms. Masters is a veteran referee on the ITF circuit, being the first ITF Class A umpire from Jamaica and the only ITF female umpire in the Caribbean. She has officiated world-level tournaments, including the ITF World Cups in Montego Bay, Jamaica in 2014, and in Budapest, Hungary in 2016, as well as the World Championship in Installment, Germany in 2019. And soon she will be adding another first and only to the list. The first and only Black woman to achieve the rank of Master, 7th Dan, in all of ITF. Her test for 7th Dan is scheduled to take place in 2023, and I was honored to sit down with her to talk about her training, teaching at the Mandeville Taekwondo Center, and what it's like to be the one to break so many ceilings for women in martial arts. I know you're extremely busy with Taekwondo teaching, and I appreciate you making time for this interview.
You're most welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. So let's start from the beginning. Your beginning of your journey. When did you start training? How did you get into Taekwondo? And also, what was it like to practice a martial art in Jamaica? And rise through the ranks. Yes, I would love to hear.
All right. So let's see if we can remember the first question first. When I started Taekwondo, I started Taekwondo the 2nd of November, 1987.
Wow.
And I got involved because in those days, we only had one movie cinema in Mandeville, where I reside. And every Friday and Saturday, we would, as young people, would go there. And on Friday nights, it's traditionally karate nights. So all the kung fu movies and the martial arts movies would be shown. And I would watch them, and I became interested. And a schoolmate of mine and I were talking, and I said to him, I think I would do karate, And he looked at me and says, "You really want to do it?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he says, "Okay, I'm going to go down to Mazuka and speak to this gentleman." And he gave me the name of my instructor, Harrison Chinhe. I went down to Mazuka, which was a business that he owned here in Mandeville at the time. And I spoke to him, and I started Taekwondo the very next day.
Wow.
So this was like, I think, on the weekend, so I would have started the following Monday.
Amazing. Wow. So it was really kind of an inspiration from, seeing it in the cinema. Now, was it ever a question like, oh, they're all men? Mostly.
No, that really never entered my mind. It's after I joined, I realized that it was predominantly a male domain.
Mm-hmm.
Still is. For the most part.
Ma'am.
The attempts are being made, but it still is predominantly a male area, for want of a better word.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And so, I guess in that sense, so how was it like? Like in the beginning, joining, you were probably one of the only women, in class.
There are two of us.
Okay. Wow.
The entire class, two.
Amazing.
But we fit right in. We never had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They really didn't discriminate against us. They never really treated us like women. We were just training, and whatever you were required to do, you were required to do. And our instructor would say to us, whether or not you're female or you're male, you're going to be attacked in the same way if an attack is coming. So you have to learn to block in the same manner. So there's no different way for a female to block versus a male. It's just one block. So you block to protect yourself. You're not going to be attacked differently. You understand? So we never really had a problem in my club and in the region where I reside. It's when we started going out, you realize that overseas, that is, you realize that there was a challenge. But we didn't really have a problem here.
Ah, that's wonderful to hear. You know, it's now I'm curious to see if that changed over time at all, and how it's today, you know, with female students. Is it better, or would you say it's actually a little bit worse in some sense, right? Because kind of like the treatment is
Yes,
different.
it's not really better because remember traditionally Taekwondo was not developed for women and children. It was developed exclusively for men, yes?
Yes.
So now that children and women have joined, it requires a different thinking on the part of the creators and the instructors. And some are very receptive to this open and new way of thinking. Others are a little resistant and they do not know how to manage, how to deal with it. Yes,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
teach the younger people, the children up to say age 18 years of age. I do not, under any circumstances, teach adults. I cannot manage them.
Wow.
Good, I teach children and young people.
Wow.
And you have to have a certain mindset to deal with children, especially the small ones. And if you don't have it, you're going to end up in challenges because when you tell children to do certain things, they might look at you and tell you no. In the martial arts world, traditionally, when you're given an instruction, you just do it. You don't
Yeah.
ask any question. You just do. But the kid's going to ask you why. Why? So you have to explain to them the reason they need to do it.
Mm.
Whereas with the traditional martial arts, you don't ask any questions. You are given an instructions and you just go.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess you could say I have the best of both worlds because I was under the rigid system, and then I'm now having to adapt and to be a little bit more flexible under this new system. But overall, it hasn't really changed because if the mindset doesn't change, then we're going to still be in the same position we are and we were back then.
I agree, ma'am. That's such a good point. You know, I just today I started my son in
Yeah.
Taekwondo. It literally just today, and I hear you, you know, about him sort of kind of not just saying always yes, ma'am, you know, and but also just saying, you know, what am I doing here, you know, and so that presents a challenge because I actually teach mostly adults in my club because it's at a college. So
Okay.
I'm the opposite of you, ma'am, right? Like I literally don't know how to teach the kids, and so I'm
Oh, I love it.
awesome. It's awesome. So what are some of your favorite parts of Taekwondo life? You know, what is it that you really enjoy? You know, in your own practice or maybe in
I
teaching?
really love the traveling part.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the travel because we get to go to different and new places, meet new people from different cultures, different backgrounds. It's quite fascinating, and you get to interact and see how they train, and you can make a comparison. And despite the fact that we don't speak the same language, when it comes to Taekwondo, we all speak the same language.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it is rather quite fascinating. I love the travel, and as I said, I love to teach children, and it's rewarding for me when I take them to a tournament, for instance, and even if they don't medal, I can see the joy on their faces for the fact that they know they did well. The other individual was just better than them on this particular day, but they are satisfied within themselves that they did well. You can see the joy, and you can also see the sadness for the fact that, oh, I didn't win a medal, you know, but it is quite rewarding. I actually love it.
That's awesome. Yes, and I enjoyed the travel too. I think we actually probably met in the Dominican Republic at the IIC
Yes, in
there in
2019.
19. Yes, I
Yes,
think
yes,
that was the
2019.
one. That was one of the last ones before the pandemic. Uh,
Right.
and speaking of the pandemic, so you know, it's been extremely tough, I think, for the martial arts community to maintain, you know, students and members and people like retaining motivation to practice. And I guess I know what you told me is that you're you know still training and you still have your school and everybody's very active. How did you manage that? And like, what were some of the challenges that you faced throughout this time?
Okay. When the pandemic happened last year, March, our country was closed on the 14th of March, I believe, for a period. I really can't remember how long now, but it was coming up to the Easter time when my club would have been on holiday anyway.
Okay.
So it was closed, and they said no face-to-face contact. Yes. So for the rest of that term and the summer term from after Easter to June, I trained via Zoom. And can I tell you, it was horrible.
I know.
I did not enjoy it one bit.
Me neither.
Because Taekwondo is a contact sport, yes? Or a contact discipline. So I need to fix your punch. I had to find creative ways to tell you how to fix this punch and to get it where I want it to go. At one point, I had to draw for a flip chart and a marker and draw the stick man and said, okay, this is where you are. I need you to go that way and put a big arrow pointing. So it was very challenging. And then after that, I decided, okay, no more Zoom. So when July came around, I reopened to the public, but some parents were still hesitant. But those who didn't care, for want of a better word, said, okay, send the child, If you take the precautions, they came, they viewed, they saw what we were doing, they saw the protocols that were implemented. They said, fine, okay, he can train. So I had approximately maybe about 20 students overall. So I split them into different classes, just to have bigger, bright. And we trained all of July, all of August. When September came around, some more students came on because they realized that, okay, these trained and nothing happened, nobody became sick, so we can try. And so some more came back, and then we've been going just like that since then. And then this year now, when the virus got out of hand, the government put in new restrictions that we had to close our gyms by 6 o'clock. Okay. So what we did was we just cut the training time. So if we used to train for 2 hours, we reduced it to 1 hour. And I further split the class. We used to train Monday and Wednesday. I would have one set on the Monday and the other set on the Wednesday, just to maintain the distance and to ensure that everyone was comfortable. And I also made the training area bigger. I reduced the size of the office and extended the training area some more so they would still have even more space. We've continued right up, and it's the same thing that I'm doing right now. And as a matter of fact, I hinted to the students that Slovenia is happening next year. And they became so enthused. Miss, when are we starting training? I want to start right now. Awesome. So come next month, God's willing, we will start, training as a squad, and then we can fine tune up thereafter.
Wonderful. Yeah, for those people who don't know what's going on in Slovenia, here it's the World Cup. It's coming up, and we're all training for the World Cup. It's different from the World Championship. It's sort of an open tournament, and everybody can go and compete. And I'm looking forward to it as well. So hopefully
blue belts to black belts can participate.
Of course, yes, ma'am. Exactly. Great. So when you yourself, competed or still compete, I don't know if you still do, but what would be like your favorite aspect of Taekwondo? Like, would it be patterns more, or sparring, or maybe some breaking? What is your favorite aspect of the physical aspect of Taekwondo?
I don't compete anymore. My last competition was 2001 in Rimini, Italy. And I did pattern and sparring. I'm not sure if I have had a favorite then. I would do both pattern and sparring. But I think I was a little better at sparring because the patterns was more technical, yeah? And we didn't do breaking at the time. Okay. Because we never had, it wasn't as structured as it is now with the category for women in breaking dance. As a matter of fact, I don't even remember if there was a section for women breaking at that time. I can't remember really. But pattern and sparring, I usually do. And it became a challenge for me to maintain weight, yeah? because of my height. I'm 5'9" and I'm medium to big bone. So, and the other lady was also, she's taller than I am and a little heavier. So both of us ended up in the same category based on the weight classification. So I was always the one who had to lose weight to go down to the next category, because we were not allowed then more than one individual per category. It's now that you are allowed 3, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
So it became challenging for me, and I said, oh, child, I really can't be bothered. So I took up the other aspect. I took up coaching and umpiring. So I've been umpiring since 2003, I believe. I think since 2003, I've been umpiring at all the championships every year. I've never missed. I think the only one I missed was Argentina in 2009.
Ah, wow.
But I've been to all of them.
So will you be umpiring at the World Championship that is coming?
No, I can't manage that one.
No, yeah,
I can't manage that one. I'm a people. I'm a touchy people. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely, absolutely. I also am, it's just intimidating to be this in
yes.
this virtual world. It seems so technical and so.
And it is only patterns, and I really don't like patterns to judge. I prefer to judge sparring.
Sparring, yes.
And I find it a little easier.
I've seen some of the your umpiring as a center ref. I mean, it's very inspiring, I think, to see a woman, umpiring, because for those who don't know, I mean, this is like an extremely challenging and also physical activity. I mean, tell me a little bit about how it is to umpire, a match between two people going at each other. I mean, how do you manage it? It's interesting.
It's not as bad as it looks. I've never really center refereed internationally. I've only done it locally. But it's quite interesting because the fighters are focused on themselves, So as long as you maintain your distance and they realize, the fascinating thing is, humans are very interesting, and they will know the boundaries. So as long as you are the center referee and you can command the respect of the athletes and they understand what you will allow and what you will not allow, no problem at all. And as long as you maintain the distance, because there's a certain distance that you must maintain from the athletes, because if that Bandea Chagi comes around and you're in the way, but
that's what I meant. It's scary.
It's fascinating, man, but it's very tiring though. It's very tiring. It's because you have to, and it's both physically and mentally tiring, because you have to focus, yes? Because you don't want an infringement to go without the penalty. So you have to be very focused and very in tune with what's going on. But it's quite fascinating, man. It's quite fascinating. But mentally and physically tired, because when you're finished, your throat is dry and you're tired. Yes, you have to take a breath. Yes. But it's quite exhilarating, for want of a better word.
So exhilarating. I remember, we were together at one of the international umpire courses, maybe, I think it was New York or something. And, also just even remembering all the terminology and everything that you have to say, all the hand movements. I mean, there's just so much mental in it.
It is.
All the, what's a foul? What's a warning?
Yes, the difference between a foul. What do you give a warning for versus what do you give a minus point for? You have to keep them straight, because if you give the wrong one, that competitor is going to suffer. Yes, so you have to be alert.
Fair, alert. Yes, it's impressive that you do that. Now, we talked about the past a little bit, the present, now the future. You are scheduled to test for the rank of master, which is 7th Dan in 2023, and you'll be the first woman of African descent, I think, right, to achieve that rank in the ITF. Congratulations doesn't even cover it. I mean, I am so impressed, and it's just astonishing and sad to see so few women. Right. So tell us a little bit about sort of, how did you persist and through these ranks, like, what is it like for you to train for your master rank, and like, what is it like? I'm as a 5th Dan, you're my hero, right? So I'm really looking up. I'd love to hear your advice to women, but also generally to all people who are like striving towards that goal. And
how you approach it?
Okay, well, the approach is similar to the approach as you would take to anything else in life. One day at a time. Set yourself small, achievable targets. What are your weak areas? Do you have a problem with kicks? Do you have a problem with blocks? Work on the small things.
Yeah.
Get the small things right, and then progress to the next step. For me, I've always had a problem with reverse kicks, especially if they are high. And I would work at it, because my philosophy is you cannot afford to go into an exam and let down your instructor.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, not yourself, your instructor. You cannot afford to let down your instructor, because they are not going to ask you about the failure. They are going to ask you, who is your instructor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? And they are going to speak to the instructor. So my philosophy was and still is, I cannot afford to let down my instructor. So whatever it took, I would work hard just to try and get it right. And I remember when I was testing for 4th dan, Moon, the pattern Moon, that has that reverse turning kick in there. I was, the evening before the exam, I thought everyone had gone, and I was in the training hall practicing, and up pops Master Utterson. And he says, Miss Masters, what are you doing in here? You should be resting for tomorrow. I said, sir, I cannot get the kick in Moon. It is too low. I can't get it any higher. He said, come. The important thing is not to get the kick very high. Get the kick to the height you can manage and balance at. And he took me and he fixed my supporting leg, and he said, put your hands this way. And he taught me step by step how to get the turn properly in order to maintain balance and to keep the kick. He says, if it can't go to your head, put it at your neck. It can't reach your neck, put it at your shoulder. We just want to see, the examiner just want to see that you can execute the kick, maintain balance, and do the kick correctly. And it was like a burden came off me, and I have remembered it from then. So whenever someone else who is preparing asks me, I'm able to tell them a similar thing. Just maintain the balance, try and get the technique right. It doesn't have to be up here. If you can't get it up there, we are not all meant to kick up here.
No.
Some of us have no bones. Yes, we are all elastic. But there are a few of us who do have bones, and it's a little challenging. Yes. But
I love that.
Once you do that, and you have to love and enjoy what you do. If you don't do it.
Yes,
if you're only doing it because someone else tells you to do it, it's not going to be as satisfactory and as rewarding.
Absolutely.
But that has been, and I can count on one hand the number of times I've been injured. I've never really been injured much, because we were always taught to properly prepare before you get into the nitty-gritty of things. So prepare the muscles properly, thus preventing injuries. And if you're tired, if you're overly tired, don't stress. Take a break.
Yes.
Rest and regroup. So that's how we were taught, and I've always followed that principle. There's 1 or 2 times you might go outside because you want to ensure that you get it right, but for the most part, I usually stick to that routine. So I'm looking forward to 7th dan. I'm hoping that I will reach there.
Oh.
I really don't know what to expect, and I'm a little afraid. I don't like exams. I always get very, very, very nervous.
Me too.
When it comes to exams. When I was testing for 6th dan, I tested along with Master Barrows and Master Kathy Downey. We all tested in Ireland.
Wow.
And I was so freaked out. And I said to my colleague, because Master Barrows is Jamaican, and I said to him, look, I'm going to tell Grandmaster Morano that I'm not grading again because I am not ready. And he had to calm me down. I said, come on, stop your foolishness. Just relax. You prepared well. You know what you're doing. Just go and execute. Take a deep breath. So I really don't like exams, yes? So I have started preparing mentally for 7th Dan. I haven't really started the physical aspect yet because in detail that is, but I have started, to gradually do. Because at this level, I think it's about the knowledge that you have gained over the past. Yeah. And I'm trying to ensure that I know the terminology, and I try to practice how to impart that knowledge because I don't know what to expect. You're not told beforehand what you're getting in the exam. You just go. They give you a skeleton. I am told. They give you a skeleton.
Yes, ma'am.
You know the usual. You must do your pattern. Yes. You must do some step sparring. You must do breaking. But the rest, up in the air. You don't know.
But I think it's good because it's like if you knew, you'd maybe overthink it, right?
So when you don't know, you just have to prepare all the different aspects of the art, which is you have to know your patterns, your step sparring, your self-defense, your breaking, and the door. Don't forget the door. So I have started gradually to prepare mentally first, yes, because you have to get the head right, because if the head's not right, then the body won't follow.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that I will be able to achieve it.
Of course, ma'am. I think what a great achievement, and it's just you've had such a long life in Taekwondo and so much more to do, And as a master, I think it'll be super impactful as a role model. You're a big role model to all of us, who are following your footsteps. So this is really amazing. So I guess to wrap it up, anything else, like any kind of advice, like how to maybe overcome those nerves, like anything that practical that you might say to someone who is nervous and is scared about testing. I certainly have some, they know who they are, some students who are sort of, they're color belt and they're worried about testing for a black belt. They just don't think that they're ready, but I know they are, but they're not. Just a word of advice of how to just take that next step.
I remember when I would always complain about, I remember my first exam as a white belt. I almost passed out in the exam. And the examiner took me one side and he said to me, "We don't intend to kill you. We just want to see what you know. We know you have practiced or your instructor would not have sent you for the exam. So you must be ready." And he took me one side and he got me all calmed down and everything, and I was able to continue. Yeah. And another friend of mine, another colleague in Taekwondo said to me, being nervous is a good thing. Because if you're not nervous, then it probably means that one, you're overconfident, and that could be a bad thing, or you don't care, and that is a bad thing.
Or worse.
Right? So a little nerves is good because it helps to keep you alert. So just breathe. And usually once in our exam as black belts, we start with the patterns first.
Oh, okay.
Usually the first pattern might be a little shaky because you're nervous. But by the time you get to the second one, you're usually so relaxed now because, yes, I remember this, I practiced for it, and the adrenaline, and you just start to flow. And just forget about who is there. Pretend that your examiners are in their underwear. Just picture them in their underwear.
I love that.
Yes. And you forget about being nervous.
All the grandmasters.
Yes. Just picture them in their underwear. And yes. My comfort zone. Or look straight ahead. Don't look at the examiners, just look straight ahead. Through them or above them. Don't make eye contact at this point if you're nervous. No. After the courtesies, no more eye contact. Just look ahead. and just flow.
Mm.
Pretend they're not there, pretend you're in the dojan training and you're doing this for yourself.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much. This is such great practical advice. I really appreciate it. I think I'm gonna definitely use it. Breathe, look ahead, underwear, and just flow. Love it. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Ms. Masters. Best of luck to you in preparing, for this next amazing step. We'll follow up with you, once it's done, and maybe hopefully you maybe do another chat and see how it went. But in the meantime, thank you so much. Best of luck to you.
It was my pleasure. And I look forward to our next meeting, be it face-to-face or via this medium. And I wish you all the best.
Ma'am.